Hi, this is Travis in the Uncanny Valley. So I'm wanting to talk about uh, making mistakes and learning from mistakes. So to quote a couple people that I'm not going to attribute the quote to because I don't want to do any extent of research into the people to know if they were admirable or whatever. But the quotes are the first is only a fool learns from his own mistakes. The wise man learns from the mistakes of others. And then the other quote is similar to that. It's good to learn from your own mistakes. It's better to learn from other people's mistakes. So something I that came to my attention a while ago was that um, there's a couple tropes that are a couple sayings that I've heard throughout my life. They go something along the line of you'll hear a married couple or one spouse in a married couple say something to the effect of um, we've been through a lot in our marriage, or we've had our fair share of struggles, or we've had our challenges, but we worked through them, or we had our difficulties, but fill in the blank. But some vague follow through that doesn't really give you anything to use. So, as far as learning from your own mistakes, it's hard enough to do that. So, as far as learning from other people's mistakes, that's darn near impossible based on what little is readily put forth by people who have had challenges. And even people that are willing to share that, I mean, it's not necessarily something I would have the capacity to take and extrapolate how I could apply that in my life. So, what okay, so we'll say my parents. So my parents have been married, God bless them, uh, 51 years now. Um, and that has been a huge blessing in my life. And here's the kicker: in largely ways that I can't articulate. So it's largely been a benefit to me in ways that I take for granted, and that's it. We all have things that we take for granted. We all have biases from other things, and the way I think about life and marriage is largely influenced by things that weren't articulated to me, but things that I inferred or just took for granted and never learned one way or the other about it. So if I were to think about the actual number of things, number of struggles, not mocking with the air quotes, just like whatever that means in my parents' lives, like it would be fewer than a handful. So I would say fewer than five things. Not to say they haven't had struggles or I don't know or that I couldn't agree. If they said, "Well, remember we had this, we had to deal with that," I might say, "Oh, yeah, there's one. Okay, that's another. That's another." But to just have a mental list going, it's it would be a very short list. And then as far as but we worked through them, or we did this, or we did that. Um, what on earth does that mean? Like I'm realizing that I have no context to apply those words. I don't know any idea what that means in real terms. Like what even if I could figure out like okay, these are the things that I think they struggled in, they could even say, "Yeah, we agree that's a short list, but yeah, that's some of our struggles that we worked through." Um I don't even know that they would together have the same list of what their struggles were and what they worked through. And if they had the same list of their struggles, would they have the same uh, methods of what they did to get through that? And I mean, granted, you're going to have one spouse is going to have a different thing that they learned from it than the other spouse, but uh, how did they collectively figure out how to move forward through that challenge? I mean, you're not going to get past all your challenges. Marriage isn't about resolving every conflict or eliminating every struggle, but you have to have a way to uh, work through them and work past them in ways that are healthy. And I guess it's getting down to like, what does that mean? Because I can't really, I don't know what that's supposed to mean. So here's a challenge to you: if you're married, if you're a parent or a grandparent of married children, especially, um, each of you grab a piece of paper and a pen and zip it. Just write down a list. Make a list. On one column, it's what the struggles were. Maybe it's just a word or two, enough so that you know what you're talking about. And then next to it, describe what the takeaway was. What healthy process or coping mechanism or realization did you have that got you to where you can work through that? I mean, whether it's just you know uh, these two words, that tells me what the struggle was. And then I learned how to show grace in this area, because the person has a different struggle than me, and it's just we rub each other the wrong way on that, and it's not something that the person has to stop. It's not something that I'm wrong to be bothered or annoyed by. I just need to show grace in that issue, because it's not something that needs to be eliminated. However you can make that list, those two columns, it would be very interesting to see what the one of you has on a piece of paper and what the other of you has on a piece of paper, and how varied those two lists are. And then that's just step one. Step two is really kind of your heirloom to your kids. It's ask them to do that, not for their marriage yet, but for your marriage. Say, in one column, write the lessons, the struggles rather, that that we've had to work through. And then in the other column, what your understanding is of how we worked through that. Because if I'm right, your list between you and your spouse will barely even match. And if I'm right, unfortunately, your kids won't even be able to make a list. It'll be very, very short grocery list of items. And hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully you've worked this stuff out and you fleshed it out for them in lessons that they can carry on into their marriages. Not that they'll have the same struggles, but they'll see the process and have been not just exposed to the fact that marriage has struggles, and that uh, the healthy way forward is to find solutions where you're not trying to eliminate the person's struggle, but you're trying to see how you can work together as a new unit, not as a husband or a wife, but as a couple through that struggle. And, you know, do they have that? Did you teach that to your kids? Because it's something that didn't even occur to me, really. I mean, like, I was kind of paying attention, but I just, I could not have. Just now. I mean, it's not like I need to explain that I couldn't have realized this. I didn't realize until recently that I don't know what those struggles were that my parents had. I don't know what struggles my in-laws had. You know, I know I could give you a list of hard times and stuff, but is that something that they just is it something you addressed? Because if you don't address it, then that's not really, ignoring your problems isn't really gonna make sense to me on the solution side, or what you did to get past it. Because if someone has a drinking problem and you just ignore the drinking problem, well, that's not a healthy lesson that you should be teaching your children. So yeah, I'd be interested to hear what you guys separately see as your marriage lessons, and what, if anything, your kids know of those. Because I have a very, very short list, and um, my ability to work through my marriage struggles has been greatly affected by that. I witnessed my parents having conversations and arguments, and uh, several times conversations where they resolved it, and I mean, maybe some of this was even staged where they, like they made up and they hugged and uh, gave each other a kiss after, and maybe said reassuring words like, we're going to get through this, or whatever. I'm not trying to blow it off. It's just I don't remember, because that was kind of not specific to that struggle. I mean, that's a good way to end um, a conflict or a struggle, but that's not really telling as far as what the resolution was, or what they're doing differently now. So yeah, maybe explore that.